Hey everyone, Mr. Souther coming at you with a lesson on lesson 10, multi-selection statements. Here's the deal with multi-selection statements. Basically, we're looking at a situation where we need a code and allow or accept multiple possibilities, multiple outcomes. And so basically what you're going to need to do is you're going to use a bunch of conditionals. Sometimes they're nested, sometimes they're not. Um, to go with to have this option of selecting from a menu essentially. What do I mean by this? Let's look at the predict and run part. I'll just put nothing in there because you can just hear my voice. Um, so here we have order runner. Okay. It's the tester class, obviously. We have a bunch of these objects being created. And each of these objects holds the Boolean, the price, the cost of the item, and then whether or not, like what kind of shipping it is. Did the customer order express, regular, or whatever? Looks like depends was, for example, an order that something was true, cost $53.75, but there's nothing put in for the shipping. Okay. Looks like there's a bunch of these dot ships. So these methods are coming out that are associated with the objects. And then we're printing those objects. So let's dive into the order.java and see what's going on. In the class called order, I see that these instance variables are being declared here, right? So we have is filled, cost, and shipping. And like a good programmer, they have all the comments here, which is wonderful. Let me blow this up one more so you can see a little bit better, hopefully. And then underneath all the instance variables on 6 through 8, I see that there is a constructor called order, which is taking in the Boolean for is filled. That's what was true or false to begin with in the arguments, the cost, and then the shipping method. Okay, and we're localizing all the variables, so it's attached to each object. Just a reminder, this allows me to not redo the variables every time. So I don't need to make an is filled 1, is filled 2, is filled 3, right? This attaches itself. So the variable is attached to that object and doesn't carry over anywhere else. Okay, so now we have the string, the method called ship. It's a string type. And here's where we see one of the parts of the multi-selection happening. So in this case, we have if the order is filled, then return the shipping cost and calculate shipping. So there's another method being deployed here. Otherwise, order not ready, right? Down here, there's that blue calculate shipping method is being created here. It's obviously a double. So it's trying to understand, hey, if shipping dot equals, right? If it contains the word regular, then return 0 if it's regular shipping. Okay. If it's express, $1.75, otherwise 50 cents. That's kind of it. Let's see what this bad boy does. So I see that the shipping cost 175, order is not ready, and 2 of the shipping costs. So if I look at order runner.java to see what those were, first one's express, so that's $1.75. Second one's regular, which would cost 0, but look, the Boolean returned false, right? So it's not ready, or it's not filled yet. The order's not filled yet. And then we have 2 more trues with the blank and the express. So it looks like when someone leaves it blank, it's just 50 cents. Interesting note. So let's move right along because we're gonna keep working with this for a couple modules. Um, I also understand that, it's hopefully it's helpful for me to walk you through this because it's something I had to kind of piece together since there's no teacher's manual just to look at for all of these. Okay, so for the next one, we're gonna do the same thing, but they say, hey, can you look at the calculate shipping method or calculate shipping method in this order class, which is right here. And they want you to just modify the body of the method to be the following. Okay. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is, let me go ahead and comment this part out. So we got public double calculate shipping, right? I'm going to go ahead and comment this chunk of code out because I want to just keep it from before, right? I want to see what was the prior code and because it works, and I want to see what's the new code. New code from module 2. So, try not to just copy paste right over all the existing code. I would encourage you to put in the new lines of code here. Okay, so we got some returns happening with some if statements and else. And then outside of that, first if there's another else that where we return 0. Okay. Just trying to make sure that all these are tabbed over so I can keep track. Looks like that's closing it out. So this is just for the class. Okay, let's go ahead and before I run anything, let me just see what's going on here. So originally I had regular shipping is 0, express is 175, anything else is 50. Let's read this line by line because this goes back to De Morgan's laws of like, hey, are these two codes similar or not? Look at the outputs that's going to generate and read the code. So if the exclamation point means a not, so this is how I would read it. Look at shipping dot equals regular. So the not makes it a negative, right? So if my shipping does not equal regular, so if it's express or blank or whatever, then we're going to go to the next line. Okay. If this first part of the if statement is false, then I'm going to skip everything else. And this is where tabbing really starts to come into play. It's nice to nest and have everything indented over. Okay. So when you copy and paste this, it'll look like it's, kind of in disorganized. I would really encourage you and take it from someone who's, not awesome at Java. I would tab everything over so you can see those nested statements really clearly, because now what I'm able to do is I can look at if, and if that's not true on the top, then it's going to go straight to this big else down here to return 0. So if I get a situation where I have regular shipping, it's just going to go to 0. Okay, was that any different than what was up here? Let's see. Well, if I had regular shipping, it just returns 0. So that's no different. Now let's assume this is true. So I've expressed or something else in there. Now I'm going to go to line 49 and I'm going to see, shipping is equal to express, return $1.75. That's exactly the same as the code we had before. So that's kind of nice. Otherwise, so if there's a situation where we are not regular, because I would go down to here, and we're not express, then we're going to go to this else that's embedded in that, nested in that if statement. We're just going to get 50 cents. So I would argue that everything we've done is the exact same, which let's see. Which it is, right? It's $1.75, not ready, 50 cents, 175. Okay, so there's no change in the program. So I think the point we're trying to get at here is that there are multiple ways to write the same code. So you and I could have the same flowchart, but we might code it just a little bit differently. But if the outcome is the same and it's pretty, plenty efficient, that's fine. Okay, so let's move on to the next guy, which is module 3. We're going to do another modification that they just tell me to copy and paste. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So go to order. And then now they want me to modify the ship method, which is here. So again, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to comment out all the old stuff. That's the else. So this is where I want to end this. Okay. So within public ship, now let's do the modifications from module 3. Put that in right here. So again, what I'm going to do, so I got an if, else if, and else. I would highly encourage you to go ahead and tab everything over after you've copied it. So you know where that else, if, the if, and the else all finish up. There is no nesting here, right? Because I don't see a if within an if. So normally nesting, you'd be able to tell if it said if, and then it goes to another if right below it. Before I just move on, let me see what they had before for shipping. So if the order is filled, give me the shipping cost. If the order is not filled, then say order not ready. The new code is telling me, hey, if there's nothing mentioned for shipping, then say invalid shipping method. Cool. Okay. I remember this coming up earlier as an argument here, right? Yeah, someone for the pens forgot to put in or didn't put in or specify the shipping method. So do you default to something or do you say invalid? Looks like they're going to say invalid. And then the next thing they're going to do is they're going to do an else if, right? So the reason you do else if and else is it gives multiple options, right? This gives you multiple options to basically move down, and we'll work on some flowcharts in class too. But if it is filled, so basically let's assume that there's something put in there for shipping. It's regular, it's express. Okay, then I go to this part. Is the order filled? If yes, then give me the shipping cost. Otherwise, the order's not ready. So this last line on 40 executes if and only if the shipping method is not blank, the shipping cost is not ready, right? Then it just says order not ready. Those are the only two possibilities I see if you can follow the flow chart or the tree diagram all the way down. That's the only possible event. Let's go ahead and run this. And it ran. Yeah, so there you go. So it says, instead of where that one line came up where there was no shipping method mentioned, you correctly put in invalid shipping method. So that's good. All right, and then one more for the, I think this is all part of the order. So I'm going to go back to order and go to calculate shipping, and I have to, where to go? String ship. There's calculate shipping, right? So we have the new code for module 2. Now they want me to modify it yet again. So let's go ahead and comment this out. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in that new code from module 4 for calculate shipping. We still have that line up here that says public double calculate shipping. So I'm not going to mess with that. And then let's go ahead and copy and paste this code in. Take a look at this. Do we have anything nested or anything weird? Oh, did I mess something up here? There's an else return down here. Just going to copy this in and see what's happening. So if shipping equals regular, return 0. Cool. Okay. Then we got an else if, and that's a way to keep layering those ifs. Oh, and then we have a nested if statement here with the return. So that's kind of interesting. And then we have one more else that says return $1.75 if all else is not true. I am kind of lost a little bit on where this else return 50 cents came from, but we'll see if it becomes a problem. And there's still the else return 0. I think it's all part of the original code, but let me just go ahead and take a look at what's happening before I just go ahead and blindly run this thing. So now for calculate shipping, right? We have shipping equals regular, return 0. Okay, so free shipping on regular. If shipping is express, so check this out. If the cost is greater than or equal to 25, so if I'm buying a $5 pair of scissors, are you going to eat the cost on express shipping for that? No, right? So in this case, I know it's higher than that. So let's say the cost is greater than or equal to 25 bucks. Then I got to pay $5 on express. Okay. Before I think it just said $1.75. And then I get an else return $1.75. Okay. And then there's another else, another else. So if all else fails, let me just kind of look at this. Then we're going to charge 50 cents and then also return 0. Let's just see what's going on. I may need to delete line 84 and 85. Yep, we got some problems. So line 84, I think, was duplicate code from somewhere. So let's delete that. Let's see if it gets mad at line 80. Oh, there it went. Okay. So in this case for order runner, I'm kind of worried here because, it says order not ready. So invalid shipping method, shipping cost. There we go. So for this last line, line 7, that express, the shipping cost went down to $5. So what if I'm just going to do this. What if I make it $5.99 and it's express? Let's see what runs and pops up for the last dollar amount. It's $1.75. I don't know if that makes much sense to me, just from a business standpoint. So there we go. Maybe I read this wrong. Let me just check something. It's weird that your shipping cost would go down. Oh, this is the cost. It's the cost of an order. Maybe I'm mistaken in understanding this from a business standpoint. If an item is more expensive for the customer, then I might keep the express shipping cost down. Or maybe it costs me money to send it. I don't know. But anyway, the code works. I'm just test it. I don't know if there's anything to test, but okay. I did the code. It worked. We basically have that nested if statement. In this case, what do we got? So we got int x equals 5. Okay, so first off, I start with x is equal to 5. So what they want you to do for this check for understanding, similar to what the AP exam question might ask you, is knowing that 5 is declared as a value of 5, or sorry, x is declared as an integer with a value of 5, work through the code. Is x equal to 1? No. So that returns false. I'm gonna go to the else if. Is x equal to 2? No. So return false and go to the next line. We have another else if. Is x equal to 3, 4, or 5? It absolutely is. Now execute that line which says x is 3, 4, or 5. All right, I did it. Okay, now let's go to the fun part, right? We always struggle with these other modules. And a lot of you guys, let's see, like to buy, you're at that time of your life where maybe you need to buy a car, get a loan. see what's going on with car loan. Okay, so you can see the degree of difficulty goes up a little bit because we have two classes we got to deal with. This is a classic case where we have a class for customer. This defines the customer. So it would behoove you to go look at the code, right? Read it all. So let me go back to the tester class. This is where all the magic happens, right? And I'm going to dig down to the details. So here we have some sort of new auto object that's a lender, or an auto object that comes from the lender class. We have some arguments and more objects being created for the customer, right? So it's a customer with presumably 10,000 in down payment, 5 years for the loan. The rate is 4.5%, and I assume that's the down payment is the last one. Yeah, down payment. So first guy here is putting down 1,000, borrowing 10, and they got 5-year loan at 4.5%. Customer number 2 has a $20,000 loan, $2,000 down, 10-year loan, which I have never heard of on a car, and then 0% interest, which is great. So in real life, you ain't getting a 10-year car loan with no interest rate. No, otherwise that bank or lender is about to go broke or desperate for business. There's the 0 period bell. Okay, so looks like we're printing a bunch of stuff and get results. There's a bunch of methods being used here. So let's take a look at what's happening with lender, or we'll go back to customer. We have those 4 variables, instance variables being declared. We have a constructor called customer that's putting all that together. And then we have the amount, length. Okay, so it's localizing the variables. Cool. Get amount, return amount, get length, return length of the loan, get rate, return the rate of the loan, get down payment, return down payment loan. Okay, pretty straightforward on this one. We declare the variables and we're returning all of them. Why? Because when I go to the lender class, I can go ahead and call upon all of those methods. Okay, so let's take a look at the to-dos. So we need to write the calculate monthly payment customer parameter. So how are we going to do this? So it wants me to use if, else if, and else statements to check each condition and return the expected result. Okay, so I'm just going to read the to-dos because there's a -1 here, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding what to do. So here on the left, it says, step 1, have a parameter customer for the customer object. Well, the calculate monthly payment already has the customer, which is the parameter, right? Customer object from the customer class is there. So when you create a customer, it needs to be used here for the calculate monthly payment. Otherwise, it won't know which customer you're talking about. Okay, so that's basically done. So the dead giveaway here is if I'm going to take in something called a customer, I need to actually use it down here in the code. Okay, so it wants me to use an if, else, if statement. And then here it tells me the conditions. If the loan length is less than or equal to 0, or the interest rate is less than or equal to 0, return 1. Let's go ahead and start with that. So I'm going to say if. In this case, I need to know the loan length, right? So we need to do something with a customer. And right now, I don't know how, like, every customer changes, right? So I don't know I don't know how long that loan is. But if you go to the customer class, because this is where everything is coming from, right? And we want to know the length of the loan, so that's this guy. You can actually get it and retrieve it using the get length method. If you don't use the get length method, then the program will, in this new method you're creating, right, to calculate monthly payment, it won't know what the length of the loan is. So I'm going to go ahead and use that customer object that'll be created, right? Because that's in the parameter, so it's ready to receive it. So I'm assuming we have information about a customer, and I need to go ahead and get the length of the loan. And furthermore, once that's going to be a number, say it's 5 or 10, as you saw on the first page, that's going to have to be if it's less than or equal to 0. And then we have an or statement. So I'm going to go ahead and put down those vertical bars, right? Or the customer's interest rate. So that's going to be customer. And I believe there's a thing called get rate. Yep, there it is. I'm going to copy and paste it over. And if that guy is less than or equal to 0, okay, so if that's all true, I want to return -1. Done. Okay, let's go ahead and delete that because I'm kind of worried that's going to become a problem later. But I still need to close out the object, right? Or the method. So that's one part of it. Do I need to nest anything? So number 2 is done. Number three, else if, okay, so else if the customer, if the down payment is greater than or equal to 1. So I'm going to write down payment is greater than or equal to 1, or greater than or equal to the loan amount. So loan amount. Now, what am I doing here? I'm not typing any code. I'm just writing basically my pseudocode. Like what do I want to fill in here? And I can fill it in just a sec. Then we're going to return 1. So obviously, if I ran it right now, we're going to have all sorts of problems, but I wanted to kind of capture the wording, so I have to keep going back and forth for my instructions. Okay, so I mean, is how do I get the down payment? That's the first question. So I'm going to do customer, and I need to get what? Is it payment? I'll get down payment, right? Because that's what I'm hunting for. So get down payment would be get down payment. It's going to be a method. Okay, so that's going to allow me to fill in the value for that given customer. Okay, how do I get loan amount? So I need to use that customer again, and to get the loan amount, I'm going to go to get amount. Copy that. And again, this is the customer that's getting the loan, right? So it's going to be customer dot get amount. Okay, so if the down payment's greater than the amount that they need to get for the loan, okay, then we're going to return 1. Cool. What do you want to do next? And then finally, it's going to be else. Go ahead and call the get payment method. So I want to do something with get payment method and return it, right? So I'm just typing these in just the way I see it, and then I'll fill in the rest later. So I want to return get payment method. So I need to, what's the get payment method? So how much, oops. I think the get payment is here, right? Oh, here it is. So it's the get payment amount method. Specifically tells you right here. This is being created in the class I'm already in. So this is in the lender class. So earlier I had to do customer.getLength. Why is that? Well, in this particular method's parameter, we are looking, or we're ready to receive some information about the customer. That's down payment, the interest rate, how much they're borrowing, right? All of that is all wrapped into that customer object. I'm ready to receive that. Because I'm coding this in a different class called lender class, I need to go ahead and use that customer object and attach a dot operator to it to assign the length, assign the rate, assign the down payment. All of that's being created in a different class. So in this completely different class, I need to go ahead and call those methods and attach it to that customer. Now, when we get to the get payment method, this is being created in this lender class. So check it out. The get payment amount is using the parameters already called customer. Okay. I don't need to do, so what I'm trying to tell you, caution you to do is don't do customer.get payment amount. Trust me, you will get an error just like I did. All right, so that didn't work. So I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why can't I do it just the same way I've been doing it? I also forgot the parentheses. Okay. This will not work because, well, we are no longer looking at a customer from the customer class to execute or call the method because the method exists right here in the lender class. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do get payment amount because I want to use that method somehow, right? But look at what the parameter is here. It's also going to use that customer, okay? So I can go ahead and use that customer as, it's an object, as my parameter, basically. Okay. Let's go ahead and run this now before I move ahead just to see if did I screw up in that method. And it looks like, good, I have no errors, so that's great. So I can go ahead and check off to do number 1. That's great. So now let's go to number 2. It wants me to write the get result, okay, method. And basically what we want to do is calculate method, or if calculate monthly method, or monthly payment returns -1, return a string. So we have a bunch of if statements that are tied to do number 1. So if we get a -1 returning from this calculate monthly payment, then something's going to happen. If we get a 1, something else will happen. And if we get nothing else, there'll be an else. So that's basically what we're doing. So again, we're using a method that's created in this class. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm in the right thing. Yeah, I want to do get result. Okay. So first thing it wants me to do is says if calculate monthly payment returns -1, right? So I'm just writing in pretend it's pseudocode, basically a pseudocode. because it's not going to do anything. I'm just sounding it out. Then you want to return a string, return some string with error. You must take out a valid car loan. Okay, cool. And then we'll stop there just to work on that first if. So again, if calculate monthly payment returns -1. Okay. So I'm going to go back to calculate monthly payments right here. Right. I'm going to look at what is it returning. Well, it's got this customer thing that's taking in. Now I'm curious on what does it pop out? What's going to pop out -1 or 1, right? Otherwise, it'll give you the payment amount for the customer. Okay. So what's up with this 1 -1? Let's take a look at get payment amount. Gets all that information. Okay. Returns monthly payment. And look what's happening here. So when I make this string called get result, it's ready to receive a payment variable. Okay. So where's this payment variable? I'm gonna go all the way up to the top, just make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm trying to see where is this payment variable created. I don't see it anywhere. I see monthly payment, other stuff. Okay, so there's really nowhere previously where the payment is being created. So what we're going to do is instead of using, so calculate monthly payment is going to return some value. I need to bring that over, right? This get result is going to use that payment. Let me just check one more thing that I'm not missing anything because it's a new, yeah, basically it's a new value that's coming in. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Is there anything for payment here? No, so it's all in this class that I'm in. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything before I start coding. Months, remaining balance, monthly balance, interest, monthly payment. Okay, so we have this new double payment. And I want to use those if, else, if statements to check each condition, return expected result. So in order for me to use the calculate monthly payment, right, I need to actually do something with that payment. So presumably here, there's going to be, let me just check one more thing here. Okay, so we're using calculate monthly payment for the first customer, and it's going to go ahead and display that as a result. Okay. So here's what we'll do for this one. Because I'm ready to receive a payment, and it's in the same class, I'm not going to use a payment.calculate monthly payment. I'm just going to try and use that payment variable. And in order for me to know, is this equal to that returning of -1, we're going to use a double equal sign, right? This has to be used because for an if statement, you need to know is it true or false in order for the return to execute. So in order for something to be true or false, you have to use the logical operator for double equals to see is that the actual value. So if payment is equal to -1, okay, then return this string. I don't need the word string, just error. You must take out a valid car loan. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Else if that same payment that we're taking in up here as the parameter, right? If that is equal to just 1, then we're going to return the car can be paid in full. Cool. And then is there one more else we want to return? Whoops. Your monthly payment will be, I'm going to concatenate with whatever the payment is. It looks like there's a period at the end, so I'll go ahead and do that because I'm so awesome. Cool. Okay, let's go ahead and run this and see what's going to pop up. If there's any errors that comes up, it's going to come from this method I just made. Oh, it looks like, oh, I forgot to delete that guy. Okay. I'm worried that's probably one too many credit bases. Let's see if that does it. All right, we're there. Okay, so second customer, right, can't take out a valid car loan. So it works. Let me just test it to make sure I didn't do anything dumb. Cool, we finished. Do one more module with you. So there's a lot going on here, and it's obviously layering on top of each other. So you do another choice. And then this one, I'm a basketball fan, so I'll do NBA teams. And I think this one, ironically, was a little bit easier than module 6, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go to settings. Let me just see their instructions again. Okay. So for this one, basically what we're doing is in basketball scene.java, write the choose size method to check the number of championship wins and return the size to draw the image. So basically what's happening here, let me run it. I don't think anything's going to pop up yet. Yeah, nothing's going to happen. But basically what's happening is if you're like the Boston Celtics, they've won a boatload of championships, or the Los Angeles Lakers, like your logo will display bigger. So there's all this happening with different arrays that are going to compile the logos and wins text files, right? So there's an array for that. And basketball scene is going to be what creates those logos. Basically, all they want me to do is just go to the choose size method, which is right here. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and return some value. Okay. So I want to know if the number of wins is greater than 10, then we want to return 150. Okay. So I need to do a couple things. One is I need to return a size number, and I need to look at the number of wins. So we're taking a num wins. So that's going to be happening. And I need to return something here. Return these values, 150, 100. So I'm just going to use size just because that's what's going to pop out at the end. Right, it's the size of the size of the logo. So I could even do size of logo to be more exact. Size is kind of vague. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say if this num wins is greater than 10. Okay, I want to return I don't even need to return, just this is, so what I'm doing is we're going to return the size of logo. So I need to declare, or sorry, say what the value is, 50. Otherwise, if num wins is what, greater than, num wins is greater than or equal to 5. Else if the number of win, okay, so in this case, if I'm greater than or equal to 5, right? Then I'm going to do size of logo is 100. I messed up here. That should be 150. Okay, and then otherwise, I'm gonna do well, there's nothing else I need to do for num wins because the default option will be 50. I've got semicolon here before I just move on. Okay. And then we're gonna go ahead and return the size of the logo. Let me go ahead and run it just to make sure I didn't mess up. Check the errors. It might actually just work now. Oh, we have a problem. What's the matter? Return size of logo, size of logo. It's unhappy with size of logo. So here's the deal. I am using a variable to store these returns, but the program's mad because it's like, bro, you never declared what the size of logo is, right? So int size of logo, let's go ahead and default it to 0. Okay. So declare initialize the size variable. I think then it'll be happy because it didn't know where did it come from. And there we go, running, sending video. And you can see the Celtics are big. My Sacramento Kings is kind of small. Yeah, because it's got less than 4 or 5 championships, obviously. Okay, so showing all the logos. Some that are kind of off the map, but it works. So there you have it. This one's actually pretty easy. You just have to remember, just go ahead and logic it out in terms of the if, else. Make sure they're tabbed over if you're going to use nested if statements. And then, yeah, I would try and use pseudocode first and then fill it in with the variables and pieces that you have. So I hope that helps.